Peter Obi was born on July 19, 1961, in Onitsha. His parents, Josephat and Agnes Obi, were devout Catholics who ran the well-known Ideal Soul supermarket in the city. Growing up in that kind of environment, commerce and discipline were basically in his blood from day one. Though he was born in Onitsha, his roots trace back to Agulu in Anaucha local government area of Anambra State, and that Igbo heritage runs deep. People who know him well call him Okute, which means rock in Igbo, and the name fits. His faith has always been central to who he is. He's a committed Roman Catholic, and it shows in how he carries himself publicly. In 1992, he married Margaret Brownson-Usen, and together they have two children, Gabriella and Gregory. Peter Obi started out like most Nigerian kids, secondary school first. He attended Christ the King College in Onitsha, one of the more respected Catholic schools in the southeast back then. From there, he got into the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, where he studied philosophy and graduated in 1984. Not the most obvious path for someone who'd later become a banker and governor, but it clearly sharpened how he thinks. Then things got interesting. Over the years, Obi stacked up executive programs at some of the most competitive business schools in the world: Harvard, Oxford Said Business School, Cambridge's Judge Business School, Kellogg at Northwestern, the London School of Economics, Columbia, IMD Switzerland, and Lagos Business School. 2 programs at Harvard alone. That's not box ticking. That's someone who genuinely wanted to understand how the world of business works before trying to change any part of it. Peter Obi didn't walk into government from nowhere. Long before anyone was talking about him as a governor or presidential candidate, he was already building something real in the private sector. It started the way it starts for a lot of Onitsha kids: trading. His family was in it, so he understood commerce early, but he didn't stay at that level. He pushed into the corporate world and kept climbing. At one point, he became the youngest chairman Fidelity Bank had ever had. That's not a small thing. Fidelity is a serious institution, and getting to the top of it that early says a lot about how he operated. Beyond banking, he sat on the boards of several companies: Next International, Guardian Express Mortgage Bank, Future View Securities, Paymaster Nigeria, Chams Nigeria, Data Corp, and Card Center. By the time he entered politics, he wasn't an outsider. He knew exactly how money moved. Peter Obi's entry into politics wasn't smooth, not even close. In 2003, he ran for governor of Anambra State under APGA. He lost, or at least that's what they told him. The Electoral Commission handed the win to Chris Ngige of the PDP, and Obi was supposed to just accept it and move on. He didn't. He went to court instead and stayed there for nearly 3 years. In March 2006, the Court of Appeal finally overturned Ngige's victory and declared Obi the rightful winner. He was sworn in almost 3 years after the election he'd actually won. Just 7 months into his first term, the Anambra State House of Assembly impeached Peter Obi on November 2, 2006. His deputy, Virginia Etiaba, stepped in, and in doing so, became the first woman to ever govern a Nigerian state. A historic moment, even if the circumstances were messy. Obi went back to court. By February 2007, the Court of Appeal reinstated him. He was governor again. Then the April 2007 general elections happened, and Andy Uba was declared the winner. Obi was out again. He went back to court, again. This time the Supreme Court ruled that Obi's original 4-year term had never properly run its course. It only started when he took office in 2006. Uba's election was nullified. So, on June 14, 2007, Obi was returned to office for the 3rd time. Some people take a hit and stay down. He wasn't one of them. After his proper first term in 2010, he ran again, this time against Professor Charles Soludo, a former central bank governor and a heavyweight by any measure. Obi beat him anyway, earning a 2nd term and proving his first win was no fluke. When Peter Obi finally got to govern without someone trying to remove him, he got to work. On education, he made a move that looked controversial at first. He handed public schools back to the churches and voluntary agencies that originally built them. People weren't sure it would work, but it did. Anambra jumped from 24th place to number 1 in both NECO and WAEC results, and held that position for 3 consecutive years. The World Bank found it interesting enough to commission Oxford professor Paul Collier to study how it happened. He also significantly addressed the state's financial obligations by clearing over 33 billion naira in inherited pension and gratuity backlogs during his tenure from 2006 to 2014. In November 2013, he delivered a final 1.25 billion naira payment to settle outstanding arrears, leaving behind zero pension debt upon handing over to his successor. He left behind the equivalent of $500 million in investments and reserves. The Debt Management Office rated Anambra the least indebted state in the country. He also made Anambra the first state in sub-Saharan Africa to start sub-sovereign wealth savings. The recognition followed. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation named him Best Governor in 2012. His fellow governors elected him Vice Chairman of the Nigeria Governors Forum twice. The 4 PDP governors in the southeast, from a different party entirely, made him their chairman for 8 straight years. That last part especially says something. Peter Obi finished his second term as Anambra governor on March 17, 2014, and handed over to Willie Obiano. Clean, no drama. That alone set him apart from a lot of Nigerian politicians. He left office and decamped to the People's Democratic Party. It was a political move, practically speaking. APGA was a regional party with limited reach, and Obi clearly had bigger ambitions. Those ambitions started to show quickly. After the 2015 elections, President Goodluck Jonathan appointed him chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. It was a natural fit since he had spent years on bank boards and in corporate boardrooms. He understood capital markets in a way most politicians simply don't. Then came 2018. Atiku Abubakar, the PDP's presidential candidate, picked Obi as his running mate. It was a significant moment back then because Obi was now on the national stage in a way that went beyond Anambra State. They ran together. They lost together to Muhammadu Buhari and Yemi Osinbajo. But by then, Obi had learned all he needed to learn in terms of campaigning, because losing that race didn't push Obi out of the conversation. If anything, it put more people on to who he was and what he might do next. In early 2022, Obi declared he was running for president under the PDP. Then he pulled out, joined the Labour Party, and everything changed. What followed wasn't a typical Nigerian political campaign. Millions of young people latched onto his message in a way that hadn't really been seen before, at least not since Abiola's time. They called themselves the Obedient Movement, and they were loud, organized, and everywhere. The marches weren't even organized by his campaign team. Ordinary people just showed up. He picked Senator Yusuf Datti Baba Ahmed as his running mate, and the ticket carried real momentum into the 2023 election. They lost to Bola Tinubu, but calling Obi's campaign a failure would miss the point entirely. He fundamentally changed the conversation around Nigerian politics, particularly around youth participation and what accountability in government could actually look like. Since then, he's kept moving. He left Labour Party in 2025 and by 2026 had joined the Nigeria Democratic Congress. But he isn't the only politician with that level of achievement. So the question is, why is he special? Why is there all this hullabaloo around his name? It's not hard to see why Peter Obi has built the kind of following that most Nigerian politicians can only dream about. The reasons are pretty straightforward, and that's kind of the point. For starters, he does things that just aren't normal for Nigerian politicians. He goes on speaking tours, talks openly about his vision for the country, and actually shows up when local or foreign groups invite him to speak on leadership and governance. He doesn't send a representative. He's also the type to get on a plane and go study how another country solved its electricity problem or fixed its government systems. Not to take a holiday, to actually learn something and bring it back. Then there's how he carries himself. No designer outfits, no convoy of 30 cars, no entourage. Simple clothes, simple living. There are stories of people visiting his home and finding him personally attending to guests, not barking orders at house helps, but doing it himself. In Nigeria's political culture, that's almost unheard of. His record on corruption speaks for itself too. He doesn't play the money for votes game. People who've watched him for years will tell you he's remarkably consistent. What he says in public matches how he actually behaves. And in between all the politics, he finds time to visit schools, champion education, and put his money where his mouth is. Like the 10 million naira he recently donated to a school that won an international debate championship. He's not performing humility, it just appears to be who he is. The man doesn't really stop. Thank you for watching. What do you think about the man? Please leave your comments below. Until next time, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.